Hey, Rolando. Welcome back to the PSN Commanders
Man, well, I'm
Network.
ready.
Yo, you're right. We're ready, man. Welcome back to the PSN Commanders Network, also the Protest Sports Network. I'm back with another collaboration, man. AGT, you know, we rocking. I'll go to the man upstairs. We got our guy, Joe from the Cardinal Ruins this evening. This is a surprise live stream, and I've not promoted this. I do apologize. Life has been crazy. Life has been lifing, so excuse me. But we do have my guy, Joseph from the Cardinal Rule this evening to talk some NFC West stuff. I'll talk his Cardinals in much more particular, but we'll talk the division in a more broader spectrum.
You have my guy.
And everything. So how you been, first of all, Joe? How's everything? It's a little worse than I thought. Can you hear me now, Joe? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So how you been? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Sorry about that, guys. Joe's having some Wi-Fi issues, so we're gonna see.
All right, I think I'm back. Sorry about that.
You're good. You're good. How's it going, man? What's going on?
Aside from the Wi-Fi, I've got that McDonald's Wi-Fi going on right now, right? You know,
Yeah.
Go on. Aside from that, yeah, I'm doing good, man. You know, just getting ready for the season and stuff, and you know, it's going to be maybe not an exciting season from a win-loss perspective for the Cardinals, but there's a lot of interesting things that I'm looking forward to watch with the Cardinals this year.
And we'll definitely talk about those things tonight, and we'll talk about the division, like I said, as a whole, very briefly as well. And then we'll do a part 2 tomorrow. I have my guy Steezy A. Smith on talk about the Seahawks as well. But we'll talk the Cardinals tonight. First off, I want to say it's going to be interesting for you guys because we don't know how long Kyler's going to be out with the ACL recovery. I know he's going to play sometime this season. We just don't know when. Will it be October? Will it be November? Or just give him just December to kind of get his feet wet for 2024? What's going to happen with Kyle after 2023? A lot of question marks. Do GM in. There's no loyalty to Kyler Murray. So a lot of things are kind of swirling in Cardinals land. But my first thing is, I gotta say this. What was your favorite move of the offseason for your Cardinals?
It's a good question. I mean, for me, I think that my favorite move was really, I mean, what they did in the draft. If you could group it together, it's just all the moves they did in the draft. If I had to pick one, right now it's looking like maybe Michael Wilson, that receiver they took out of Stanford, who, Cardinals fans are really excited about him. He's had some injury problems in college. Some really bad luck with injury, and then he kind of really tore it up at the Senior Bowl and kind of got on the radar. And, he is, someone that people are talking about a lot through camp. In the last preseason game, he played with the starters, and then they took him out of the game. So that's leading a lot of people to think that maybe he's earned that starting X receiver spot. And he looked good in the limited snaps. And he's just a guy who has some really great route running. So if I had to pick one, it would be that draft pick. And I think a lot of Cardinals fans feel that way. But, their free agency, they didn't go for any big names. They're really kind of resetting the roster, brought in a couple guys to fill holes and kind of help install the new systems, guys that were with the coaches in other locations like Philadelphia and Cleveland. But I love what they did in the draft and how they set themselves up. And we were talking about this before we went live with how many draft picks they have next year. So for me, everything I'm most excited about centers around the draft.
I completely agree. I think you guys killed the draft. The fact that you guys were the stockpile picks for next year to either take players or to package up if you guys are looking to move on from Kyler, which I don't think you guys should. But I do understand. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you guys can play how I want to play. You did ball in your court, basically. So with Kyler being out for probably at least the first month and a half, 2 months of the season, we probably don't expect a ton of wins from the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of people don't expect it, but you never know. Any given Sunday, you guys can go out there. Colt McCoy can have one of those games. He goes 22 for 30, 250, 2 TDs. Y'all win a game you're not supposed to expect. Even like week 1, right? I know a lot of Commanders fans are saying we need to crush the Cardinals, get them out of here, get them out of here before halftime. Hold your horses. Any given Sunday, you guys can come in there, have a game plan that's perfect. Random Sam Howell, our offensive line sucks, and we could be in a dogfight for 3.5 quarters, and y'all win. You know what I'm saying? That win could turn to another win, and win brings confidence. So you never know how a season's going to go. But just given the fact that Kyler's going to be out for so long, it's kind of like, hey, should we build for the future? How? So it leaves this question. If you guys had the number 1 pick in next year's draft, you have all the draft picks you guys are stockpiled already, but you have the number 1 pick as your first round pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Would you be willing to trade Kyler Murray away and draft Caleb Williams at 1?
So me personally, I'm on Team Kyler. Like, I believe you build around Kyler. I think he's shown a lot in terms of his arm. I think people really hated on Kyler because all the narratives and all this stuff, and certainly things kind of went really downhill last season. But like, there was a point where he was a guy everyone was talking about for MVP. 2 seasons ago in the first half of the season. The arm talent is there. We know what he can do with his legs. Like, I think there's only one other quarterback in this league in the NFL that is as good of a running, threat, and that's Lamar. I think Kyle and Lamar are the 2 best running threats in terms of dynamic running. There are other guys who can run really well. Don't get me wrong. I know Justin Fields can, there are other guys that can run, but I just think no one runs like those 2, Lamar and Kyler. But people, because of that, sometimes forget how good Kyler's arm talent is. I know there's a lot of haters out there. Anything someone could say about Kyler, I've heard it before. So if you're going to give me your criticisms of Kyler, you're wasting your breath. I've heard it all. I've heard it. But I believe in building with Kyler. Now, are the Cardinals going to do that? I think a lot depends on what they see out of him whenever he does come back. But if it's me and the Cardinals end up with the first overall pick, whether it's our own or whether it's the one that they got from Houston, right? That they traded, which might be it, right?
Yeah.
Have both of those picks, right? So if we end up with that number 1 overall pick, if it's me, I'm leveraging the fact that like a lot of teams are going to want Caleb Williams, and I am holding that pick for ransom for for a crazy haul. Like 3 first-round picks, a couple second-round picks, or whatever, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm trading that for a haul of picks, trading back a couple picks, going like after Marvin Harrison Jr. and trying to get an elite defensive player, right? So think about Marvin Harrison Jr. in this team, and then you get an elite defensive player, plus you've added a bunch of extra picks, right? Think about, like, they've already got, we were talking about this, they've got 9-10 picks next year. They got a bunch of picks in round 3. They're going to have extra picks, add even more, and get some future first round picks, and you just have this pipeline of blue chip talent you can bring in, and you can build a heck of a roster. I see a question: do you consider Kyler Murray a bust? Not even close. He was Rookie of the Year. Had first 3 years were really solid. Last year struggled. The whole offense struggled. He got injured, but I think he is anything but a bust. I think it's people who are talking about him as a bust are just buying into the recency bias of the narratives of what's going on recently and all the noise off the field around the entire organization. But even last year, his numbers weren't like horrible. They just, when you look at his completion percent, yards, touchdown, interception, they were but the whole offense also was kind of a problem. There was tons of injuries on the offensive line. But no, I think first 3 years were a nice steady progression for him. He didn't take a huge leap, but he was steadily progressing. And then last year, the wheels fell off for the entire team, right? But if it's me, I'm trading for a bunch of picks, building this team, And a lot of Cardinals fans are really excited about our new general manager Monty Ossenfort and the way he's building this and the way he approached the draft. Not just adding those picks, but the positions he's addressing. Like our former general manager Steve Keim just didn't do a good job in terms of roster construction. Like he's drafting inside linebackers in the first round in back-to-back years, right? Ignoring some important positions. And what our new general manager is doing is he's looking like he takes a left tackle in the first round, right? He takes edge rusher, cornerback, and receiver in the second and third round, and he's looking at the premium positions early, right? He's got a very sound approach towards how he's going to be building the roster, and I'm optimistic that they're going to build a really good team around him with all these picks. If they can even hit on their draft picks at an average rate, right? If they can be a league average in terms of their ability to identify and draft good players with the number of picks that they're adding, right, and premium picks, they can build a good roster. And I think Monty Ossenfort, from what we saw from this draft, listen, we have the players haven't played their season yet, so we'll see. But also what he learned from the Patriots organization, the way they draft offensive linemen and defensive players well in particular, I'm pretty optimistic that they're going to build a really good all-around roster, and that 2-3 years from now, we're going to talk about the Cardinals roster the way they're talking about like the Jets roster. People are talking about that roster is solid, right? Because of what they've done with their draft picks with the Jets in recent years.
Agreed.
I think people are going to start talking. I think the Cardinals, if they do what they've shown, keep doing what they've shown they're going to do under this new general manager, I think a few years from now, we're going to have one of those kinds of rosters that they just built a really good roster across the board with some really good use of draft picks. And if Kyler Murray's healthy and they're behind that roster, I think we're going to have a really competitive team. But
I can't disagree with you. I can't disagree with none of that you stated. It might not take that long because I like some of the pieces on your roster already. You still got Marquise Hollywood Brown, so he's still on the roster, right? I was going with Isaiah Simmons, but
they're playing him at safety right now. In fact, they're playing him kind of as a center fielder, that deep center, that safety in the middle of the field.
Yeah, I love Budda Baker. I love the fact you guys drafted Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. I think he's gonna be a really solid left tackle for you. My only question marks with Kyler is two: finishing seasons and staying healthy. That'd be the only I would consider moving Kyler, is because he doesn't finish seasons well and he just doesn't stay healthy. Now, Caleb Williams, that boy's a problem. I ain't gonna lie. If this is the 2023 draft class when it comes to quarterbacks, of course I would just hold on to Kyler. I think CJ Stroud was cool. I think he's decent, but I don't think he's a franchise world beater. And same with the rest of that quarterback class. I ain't seen any world beaters. Neither did the 2022 class either. Well, I like my starting quarterback. I don't mind him. And the other guys around, like Desmond Ridder and Kenny Pickett, I don't think they're world beaters. I think the one that could be is Sam Howell, but none of my business. This, however, is different. I think Caleb Williams is a legit franchise quarterback. And I really like his skill set. And I like his size, too. But I get why you want to hold on to Kyler. I get it. He's been very productive. He's solid. He's actually shown elite production at times. He's been an MVP candidate at times. I get it. Kyler Murray has apex. Could be a top 10 quarterback. That is what it is. At one point,
I think
higher. Putting him in a top 5 in some aspects as well. Yeah. So
let me just say, I think that offense, the Cliff Kingsbury offense, it was part of the problem. I mean, he knows that offense, but that offense also, in terms of how dependent it was on having really good receivers, when those receivers weren't healthy, it limited what he could do. And it's not a conventional NFL offense, the way they ran it. So I want to see Kyler in a more conventional offense, which we're going to see now, because I think that Kyler, I'll tell you this, watching Kyler, the kinds of throws I've seen him make, I've watched every game he's played in with the Cardinals, watching the kinds of throws he can make, like that are like only a few people in the NFL can make some of the throws he makes, like a handful of people. The arm talent, when you see what he does at points, is amazing. It's just the overall production. I mean, I think like sometimes some of his throws look like Mahomes throws. I mean, I'm not saying he's him. There's one Mahomes, but Kyler has the kind of arm talent to make some of those throws that there's probably 5 people in the NFL. Too. Yeah, I'm sorry.
He also came from that baseball background like Mahomes does, so he kind of has that Mahomes-esque type of aura to him. He played baseball too.
Oh yeah.
So he has that Mahomes-esque aura to him. Right. Like he can make these crazy angle throws and do all this crazy crap that Mahomes can do at times. It's not Mahomes, but
so to me,
it's kind of close.
In the right offense,
I get it.
So in the right offense with that arm talent, I think he will really surprise people in the right offense.
That air raid was a good fit for him. I just thought that they were relying too much on Kyler's arm and legs and did not give him a run game. And that was my number one problem, I think, is that I never saw balance. It was Kyler dropped back 45 times, a run zone read 4 or 5 times. It's you. Go be Kyler Murray. Go be Kyler. No run game, no nothing. Just go be Kyler. Like you can't do that to people. You go get this kid killed. He's 5'10", about what, 200 pounds? You get killed. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, that was crazy. I never understood.
Here's what I say. He's a good fit for that offense, but that offense isn't a good fit for the NFL, right? That's the thing. Right?
Agreed. Precisely. It wasn't going to last long.
So I think he, in a better offense, a better NFL offense, could be that next level.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, there's sorry. With all due respect, Yuki, you're buying into too many narratives. Sorry.
Yeah,
you're reading too much of the noise. I'm telling you, man, that's a bunch of baloney. Sorry.
Yeah. To me, I think the one narrative I kind of do feed it is he doesn't study enough. I do feed it that one a little bit, only because even do like he games a lot. Like, he's on Twitch like a lot. Like, he's on Twitch a lot gaming.
I don't know, but like, so
I buy into a little bit.
You know what I'm saying? Like
the crap, I don't buy into that crap. I don't think how crap. Yeah, I don't think that. I do buy that he should study a little bit more.
Here's what I would say. I know that there were some quotes around that. And listen, I've heard it all. I've seen it all. I've listened. I've heard the interviews. I know that New York Times interview. And here's one of the things you have to keep in mind though. That offense that he was in, was a read and recognize offense. It wasn't a study offense, right? It was like he did his homework. Maybe he didn't watch as much film as some other quarterbacks, but in that offense, it's not as much of that. It's much more the way the reads are. It's not a film study heavy kind of offense to run. So, I don't know, none of us know how much time he spent. I don't buy into the thing that he doesn't study his at all. Like, I just don't buy into that. But everything you're hearing out of camp is that he's putting in the work. He's doing the study. He's in the meeting rooms. He's attentive. So whatever stuff people were saying about that, that's not what we're hearing come out of camp right now. And I would say this. There was a lot of whispers that would be leaked. A lot of things were leaked to the media when we had our previous general manager here. And now that he's gone, a lot of those leaks have kind of stopped. And I kind of wonder if he was leaking stuff for whatever reason, to leverage, to put a fire, whatever it was he was trying to do. But like, everything. Here's what I think the real deal is with Kyler's personality. Kyler is a little bit of an introvert. He's a little bit of he's a little bit aloof.
Yeah.
But that's not like a
like
bad
Justin
thing.
Herbert is. Makes sense.
Yeah, and I think it rubs people the wrong way because he just kind of, people think he's a certain way that don't even know him. But like I work with college kids. That's what my day job, I work at a university. And like his personality just to me reminds me of most 20-year-old kid, 20-something-year-old, age people. It's just a different generational thing. I think people want someone to look a certain way, and if they don't, they assume things, and I don't know. Like he's not getting, you don't hear about him getting into trouble or doing anything off the
Yeah.
field. You know, I don't know. I just think our people are
He's not
just
out here doing Henry Ruggs and doing foolishness and all this other stupid crap people be doing. Like, to me, I just think like with Kyler, he's literally the NFC West version of Justin Herbert. An introvert kid, does stay to himself, doesn't talk much, just plays the game and that's it. Like that's like
yeah.
not a vocal leader, kind of lead by example type of guy. But I'm not gonna lie though, I'm kind of glad that you guys brought in a new head coach.
Oh, we're
I
glad
don't know
too.
if he was the best fit. Jonathan Gannon is interesting. I will talk about him too, but I just
Yeah.
I want you guys to get Steichen. I think Steichen would have been a better fit. Like, out of the Eagles coordinators, I feel you got the least of the two fits.
I'm gonna tell you that
I love Steichen.
that's who I wanted.
Solid,
That's who I wanted at first.
Yeah, Steichen
No,
to me would have been a little. He's an offensive guy, and you want to pair with your quarterback that's an offensive guy. The offensive coordinators go everywhere. We have Eric Bieniemy now. He probably won't be here next year.
Yeah.
If the Commanders' offense is what we think it could be, and Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson and all that, he won't be here unless they fire Ron, which I don't know how that's going to work. But another topic for another day. See, it's not Commander strength. Yeah. But I'm just giving examples. Like another team, like I'm trying to see. Well, even with the Texans, with their offensive coordinator, DeMeco Ryans the defensive head coach. They draft the quarterback. If C.J. Stroud looks any being like he did in Ohio State, that offensive coordinator won't be there much longer either. Yeah. So that's why I like getting Steichen would be a better fit to me because you know he's going to be there for 4 or 5 years. You know whoever the quarterback is, when we go say bye to Kyler and draft Caleb Williams or Drake May, or you're going to roll with Kyler, you have a guy that's going to link with him for 4 or 5 years to where he knows his offense in and out before he goes somewhere else, and he can actually flourish. If you keep switching offensive coordinators all the time, he will never flourish because the system always changing. He can never get the verbiage down, can never actually get the chemistry that he wants with his guys because the offense is consistently changing. So I like Gannon though, but I think it's just been better to get an offensive guy that you can hang on to with Kyler.
When the Cardinals fired Kingsbury, Steichen was kind of the name I was talking about. Steichen was the guy I originally wanted because of what he's done there in Philadelphia with a quarterback who has some similar kind of abilities. So that was the name I kind of wanted, but they didn't go in that direction. I totally understand all the arguments about offensive-minded coaches versus defensive-minded coaches and how it's an offensive game. I mean, listen, I'm very familiar with those arguments, and I totally get it. And I leaned towards Steichen originally. I will say with the Gannon hire, from what we've seen, I really like what we've seen in terms of the culture he's building. If you're a defensive head coach, you have to be a culture builder. Like if you're an offensive coordinator becomes a head coach, you do need to build a culture. But if you're an offensive genius, so to speak, with a really good offensive system, you can lean on that more. But if you're a defensive head coach, you better be a culture builder, right? You better build the right culture because you can't
go up the X's and O's.
Just be a defensive whiz and be a good head coach. You have to be a leader, right? Next level leader, like a Mike Tomlin, right? If you're a defensive coach, you have to be that next level leader. So with Gannon, it's too early to say if he's going to be that. But what we have seen so far, he's drawing rave reviews from building the culture, from the accountability, the discipline. People aren't late to meetings anymore. People are doing their job. Even this preseason game, I did a quick reaction video to the Cardinals' first preseason game, and I know preseason is preseason. It doesn't tell you anything, or at least not much that you can lean on for the rest of the season. But they only had 4 penalties in that preseason game, and that's with a lot of backups playing, right? And that's as penalties go, 4 penalties over the course of the game is not a ton, right? And that to me was also a sign of hopefully evidence that they've done some good things in terms of building some discipline and accountability in the building.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that being said. I hope Gannon is the right guy to build that culture because we bought the same thing. We hired Ron Rivera back in 2020 that we can build that culture, and he's actually changed the culture here. We're actually not the laughing stock of the NFL no more, and not being thrown into trash. So like everyone else. So the culture has changed, hadn't equated to win. So Cardinals fans, be patient. The culture might change, but it might not equate to wins immediately. It might take a little while. But if you guys got these draft picks,
I will say most Cardinals fans, at least that I interact with, have pretty realistic expectations. Yeah. Well, Cardinals fans, at least the ones I interact with regularly, have pretty realistic expectations for the season. They're not. I don't see many that are thinking we're going to be a playoff team this year. This is the year to kind of rebuild and reset and look towards the future. So I think Cardinals fans are pretty clear-eyed about what this year is going to be like.
Okay. I mean, how do you see the season playing out though? Like, actually, I want to talk that preseason game. Well, who stood out to you in that preseason game that you watched? Like, give me like two guys that stood out to you.
So, couple players, two guys. Okay, Keitrell Clark, defensive back. Was it out of Louisville? I think a guy they took in the 6th round, who had a PFF grade of like 89.9 for that game. He played 29 snaps and had like almost a 90 PFF grade. He's a guy I love coming out of the draft. He's kind of feisty. He's a little undersized for the outside. He's more of a slot
corner,
but he can play outside. He's been making some, people have been talking about him at camp. So Keitrell Clark is definitely the guy who stood out to me the most. And, I will say, like, there's some guys that, like I mentioned Michael Wilson earlier. He only played a handful of snaps, but I liked what I saw. But because he only played a handful of snaps, I'm going to give someone else as my number 2, and that's Clayton Tune, the quarterback. I think it was a 5th round pick out of Houston for the Cardinals. Yeah, and he missed a few open receivers in the flat. It wasn't a perfect game, but he had a couple nice throws where he saw guys and caught guys open. He kept his eyes downfield, avoided the pressure, and it was his first game action in the NFL. The first preseason action, obviously, and he looked solid. He had the one interception he threw, the receiver fell down and didn't finish his route, so I think that was probably more the receiver. But he also threw a touchdown. And yeah, so I'm going to give Clayton Tune and Keitrell Clark as the kind of two guys that stood out.
Okay. That's interesting to hear. I like Clayton Tune out of Houston. So we got drafted him. I did like that draft pick. And I didn't know about the Louisville kid. I'm going to look him up and do some more studying on him. But
I tell you, Brett Coleman and EJ Snyder, they have the Bootleg podcast, and they did some interviews from the Shrine Bowl. And they did one with Keitrell Clark and did a little bit, showed some of his film and talked to him. There's a really good interview video with him on the Bootleg podcast YouTube channel that you can check out.
He's asking me how are the Indianapolis Colts. He said, which NFC West team do you hate the most? Oh, Yuki's a Niners fan, by the way. So.
Oh well. Man, it probably is the Niners, and it's tough because there's some Niners content creators that are really good people that I love doing collabs with, that are really good humans, So I've got some guys that I just really love who are Niners fans, but as a team, probably the Niners. Yeah.
No, Niners. If I was an NFC West fan, what team would I hate the most? You guys are pretty calm fans. I don't really hear too much about Cardinal fans. I think just absolutely ape crap. Seahawks fans are kind of chill too. It is Niners fans. Niners fans are the most kind of arrogant fans. Oh, you guys. Rams fans, when they're winning, they're pretty arrogant. When they're not winning, they're kind of quiet. So it's like
Rams fans are too busy surfing, man. They don't have time for any of that stuff.
They're LA living their best life. They're not thinking about the freaking Rams. But when they're winning, they're talking a bunch of crap. But not winning, they don't really give a hell. So it's like whatever. But I think you have two different types of Niners fans. You have the Niners fans who are, I don't say 3 types. They're super humble. They don't really care. They love the team, whatever. We have these arrogant fans talk all this trash. It goes to Super. They're like Cowboy fans. We go to Super Bowl every year. Da 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 da. We them. We got this and Kyle Shanahan. They'll talk up a storm for like an hour. He won't shut up. If we got the ones who just talk trash to certain fan bases, they hate a team. They don't care if it's in a division or not. They will trash talk them to death. So those are the type of Niners fans. I wouldn't say I would hate Niners fans. I would just like that arrogant group of fans that they have. But overall, I don't think Niners fans ain't that bad either. You guys have good fans in our division. I just love your team. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, I think fans are just like any human population, right? They're just like any other large group of people. You got all kinds of people within the fan group. There's people who are awesome human beings, and there are people who are not very good human beings, and everything in between. With every fan base.
I don't disagree with that.
But there are a few fan bases that maybe they do find ways to be a little more annoying.
Yeah, no, seriously. Definitely. I don't know. I just find your guys' division so intriguing because I think the Seahawks. A lot of people gonna say they don't take a step back because they think Geno Smith is going to do what he did last year.
Yeah,
a lot of people think the Rams are going to be back because Staff is healthy. It's a toss up. There is a way that you guys could be a playoff team. There is a way, but it's going to be kind of hard. But there is a way, just because
it's
so.
Like I don't expect I think the Niners are going to win the division, and I mean
I think they're the one team with the least amount of question marks. I agree with that.
Yeah, right. That's the one team I think has their most highest probability of being good, right? And then Seahawks are, how much was last year real? If you ask a Seahawks fan, obviously they're going to say it's real. Other fans outside maybe have more question marks, but they're probably the team that has the second best chance because I think the Rams have a lot of question marks, and then the Rams and then the Cardinals are the most likely to be at the bottom. But like you said, like any given Sunday, and I think there's a path to the Cardinals being a playoff team that people are ignoring. I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't think the path is. I don't think it's as impossible as people make it out to be. Like the path for the Cardinals.
I don't think the Cardinals are going 3-14 or
being a playoff team this year looks something like this. Yeah, I think they're probably a 5 or 6 win team, better than people think, but not a playoff team. But here, if they were to be a playoff team, if somehow they managed to be a playoff team, this is what I think it would look like. I think the defense would surprise people because it'd be a really, they brought in a defensive head coach who brought in some of his staff, like, his defensive coordinator, Nick Rouse, is a really up and coming kind of, defensive coach who people really like. So if they had a really well coached defense the personnel on defense right now is a lot of young players and a lot of unproven players. So they would have to play over, better than the sum of their parts, so to speak. But if the defense was well coached and was better than people expect, maybe even just middle of the pack, based more on coaching than anything else, right? A few young players like Keecho Clark show them something. They get a little unexpected pass rush from one of their second year, pass rushers like, Myjai Sanders, or maybe BJ Ojolari kind of does a few things for them. Their safeties play well. If they just get enough to be decent on defense, and then, if the offense, maybe does enough to win a few games while Kyler's out, they win 1 or 2 games, and maybe they come out of like first 5 games 2-3, right? But Kyler comes back, and then in this offense, Kyler becomes the Kyler that I think he can be. And this offense with Kyler Murray, Hollywood Brown, right, Rondale Moore, if he manages to be somewhat healthy, Greg Dortch, I know a lot of people like who's he. He's a really good slot receiver, feisty. And that rookie Michael Wilson we talked about, if he ends up being, doing something for them. Trey McBride in his second year, right, and then Zach Ertz, recovering from his knee injury, if he does something for him, and that offensive line. a lot of people. I mean, it's revamped, but there's some good players on that offensive line. I'm not saying it's a good offensive line, but they got to get it together. But DJ Humphries has at points been good. Pat Johnson Jr. is going to be starting at right tackle. Will Hernandez has been a decent guard. Maybe he's not great, but he's been decent. They brought in Elijah Wilkinson from Atlanta, who was a solid. With offensive line, you just need solid guys across the board, right? You don't need to have you don't want a stars and scrubs on offensive line. You want solid across the board. You don't want any weak links. So if that revamped offensive line is better than people think, Kyler comes back healthy sooner than people think, that offense
could be decent.
People might be like, oh, I forgot how good Kyler can be, right? And down the stretch, they start gaining momentum and surprising people, and they have a defense that's serviceable, an offense that surprises people, and they end up somehow managing to win 9 or 10 games when this all said and done. That's what it would look like if they made the playoffs. Again, I think they have more work to do and I don't think that's what it's going to look like. But if that happened, I wouldn't be, oh my God, it's one of those things I can imagine that happening. I'm not predicting it, but I could see that happening that way.
Yeah. It's definitely a path. I completely agree with your path. The defense is going to be pretty good. And I think the offense was had to hang on and win 20-17, 17-14, 23-20, those kind of low scoring games. They'll remind me of the 2018 Washington team where we didn't have really much of an offense. We just had a run game and a bunch of mediocre receivers and a bunch of jags everywhere. And Alex Smith was just managing the game, not making mistakes, and winning 2017, 21-17, 23-20, 17-14, 17-10. Got teams scores like that. And once we played an offense, they could score points, which is in trouble. But if we played a team that couldn't score, we could win. So if you guys can run into those teams early that really don't have a dynamic offense, your defense steps up. Could you say you'd be 2-2 after 4 games? You're 500, and then Allen come back after week 5. It's like, okay, cool. Now we can go on to the races. 500. So anything is possible. I definitely think anything, especially at NFC West, a toss up outside the Niners. And even the Niners do have question marks. Who is their starting quarterback? Who is it? Sam Darnold? Is it Brock Purdy? Is it Trey Lance? We don't know. We don't know. It's a huge question mark. And that's the biggest position in football. It's a question mark. I know Kyle Shanahan can dress it up and make it look all nice, but it's still a question mark. It's a huge one. I think it should be Purdy, but some Niners fans want it to be Lance. Some screw, go with the vet, man. Darnold, you know what Darnold is. He sucks, bro. Bro and Purdy, he sucks. So it's a really huge toss-up for them at quarterback. That's for the Rams. Is Stafford playing 17 games? My answer to that is hell no. I don't see it. I just don't see it. But a lot of Rams fans think he'll stay healthy. He'll play 17 games, and they'll win 9 of those or 10 of those. And is trading Jalen Ramsey going to hurt them? I think it is going to hurt them. So they have question marks. Seahawks with Geno Smith. Is he going to run it back or do what he did last year? Was he take a step back? Is that the real Geno Smith or is that an anomaly? We don't know. And with you guys, it's just you guys got so many young players. Can these young players step up and be the guys that you want them to be? And win this college?
No.
So it's going to be fun to see.
There's a ton of questions there.
Ton of them. But I've been at least, like you said, the least amount of questions go to the San Francisco 49ers. So they're going to probably win the division. They're probably the second best team in our conference. And these guys should be competing for an NFC championship.
Yeah. No, I mean, with the 49ers, there's a couple of things they're going to do. They're going to run the ball really well, right? And they're going to get pressure on the quarterback, right? Those two things are going to happen. They've got the offense, they've got the roster pieces to do that. They've got the systems to do that offensively and defensively. They're going to run the ball really well, and they're going to rush the passer. The question marks for them end up often being how well does their secondary play. If it plays well, then their defense becomes elite. If the secondary struggles, their defense is good, right? And then on offense, how good is their quarterback play? If their quarterback play is good, then their offense becomes really good. If their quarterback play isn't great, then they become a team that needs to rely more on the run game. But either way, the floor is high for them. They're going to be solid.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I agree with that as well. And then as for the Rams, they have a bunch of star power and guys like Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald. But is it really my question about is it time to blow it up? Like, is it time? Like, you trade Jalen Ramsey away for basically peanuts. Sean McVay, I don't know how long he will be with the Rams if they're not good. I think the moment the Rams are not good, he's not coaching them anymore. I think that's literally how it's going to go. When they're not good, he's out the door, and they got to just start completely anew. So that's going to be interesting. And with the Seahawks, like I said, like was Geno their guy? Was it really him, or was it everything kind of being the perfect storm? But I do think the Seahawks are better than people think. I think Geno Smith is better than people think he is. I don't think that was a complete anomaly. Kenneth Walker is a heck of a running back. I love them drafting Devon Witherspoon and picking up Jackson Smith and Jigba in the first round. Still got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, nothing to scoff at. I like Noah Fant. They have a solid offensive line, like both their tackles, both their super young, talented tackles. And they can't super get to the quarterback at an elite level, but they can scheme it up. And they got Bobby Wagner back, which is another loss for the Rams. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Niners are going to win the division, but I think the Seahawks are not that far behind.
I think the
Rams have something to say about it if they stay healthy.
The Seahawks have knocked it out of the park with the last two drafts, right? They've had, right? And so they're one. I was talking about like what we want to see from the Cardinals in terms of the new general manager and building the roster through the draft, and how we're hoping that a couple of years from now that's what that they have one of those kinds of rosters. Well, the Seahawks have kind of done that a little bit. I mean, with what they've done with their last couple of drafts, so they've got a solid roster. There's some things they need to still probably address, but they've got a lot of talent that they've added for sure.
And then so yeah, I completely agree with that one. The Seahawks are interesting. They're very interesting. I think they're the dark horse of the NFC, the one NFC team no one's really talking about, and a lot of people talk about the Eagles. And rightfully so. Jalen Hurts had a great year last year, and they were the NFC champions. They won the conference. They played in the Super Bowl, so rightfully so. I told the Niners. The Niners played the NFC championship game last year. If they had a quarterback, knock on wood, would they gotten blown out like that? No. Would they won the game? Possibly. We don't know. But I do think the Seahawks are and everyone talks about Dallas. It's so annoying. I'm tired of them just keep putting the Cowboys in these damn conversations when they're not good. But whatever, fine. But no one is talking about the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know why. It's crazy. They won 9 games last year. I like the receiving core. I think they have a solid defense. They add another corner to the team with Tariq Woolen. They get Jamal Adams back. They have a solid offensive line. They can run the ball. They can throw with Geno. I don't understand. I think the Geno Smith narrative is really holding people back from picking the Seahawks in the NFC. I think they're a dark horse. I really think they are. I really think they're one team no one's talking about, and they're very well coached.
Yeah. I think the reason people aren't probably talking about them more, it all does, in my opinion, revolve around Geno Smith. I think they're the people who think don't believe in Geno Smith. They think it was kind of a little bit of a one-year wonder, and he's going to kind of fall back down to earth and just be, kind of a bottom third of tier quarterback. So some people just think they're fool's gold because of that. And then the people who are buying into him more than that, people think, okay, now Geno Smith is an NFL starting quarterback. He's, they still, I think he has a ceiling where he's not going to be an elite NFL quarterback, right? I think even the people who believe, okay, no, Geno will be good again, but they think there's still a ceiling that he's not going to be good enough for them to be, in this, mentioned in the same way we mentioned teams like the Bills and the Chiefs and, teams like that. So I think even the people who believe in him only believe in him so much. Aside from
Yeah, fact.
Seahawks fans, I'm sure there's some of them who believe in him to take them to the promised land, but in terms of at least outside of Seattle fan base.
Yeah, no one really believes in him outside that fan base. I completely agree. I do believe that Geno Smith is better than advertised. I don't think last year was a fluke. I really think he's a really solid starting quarterback. Is he going to go pro for another 4,000 yards? Heck if I know. But
you know who he reminds me of? His career arc. I don't know if you're old enough to remember. You remember Rich Gannon?
yeah.
Remember he was a backup forever, and then he became a starter with the Raiders and was a pretty good starter.
Yeah.
Right, late in his career, and that to me is kind of the career arc that Geno Smith looks like he's going, where he's he ends up being a backup for a lot of years, and then he late in his career he gets to be a starter again and is solid.
I completely agree with that for sure. So when it's all said and done, if you were to give records for each of the teams of the NFC West, like estimated, you can give ceiling or floor or actually predict a record for each team, what would it be?
So I think with the 49ers, I think I'm going to go like I would expect them to be maybe like 11-6 probably, in part because the division's not great. They could be better than that. They could be worse, but I go like 11-6. I think the Seahawks. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I'm going to say 10-7. 10-7 because I think again it's the division isn't great, and I think some of the I think they've got obviously their coach has been around for a while. He's a good coach, and I think they've built enough talent on that roster. Even if Geno isn't all that, they can still win. I think the Rams are going to be. I think they're going to be like 7-10. I think they're going to be. Some people think they're going to be bottom. I think they'll be better than that. I think they're better coached, but I think they'll be like 7-10. And then I think the Cardinals probably like 6-11, and that's me probably being more optimistic than some people.
I can see a Cardinals win 6 games. I can see that. Especially if Kyle come back in like October. I can definitely see 6 wins. I think I've been the Niners will win 13 games. I've been going to dominate.
I can see it.
I've been the number 1 seed in the NFC when everything's said and done. I've been in better Philadelphia. I've been in better. If kind of a caveat, if Brock Purdy's their starter, I do believe they're going to win 13 games. If it's Lance or Purdy, yes. If it's Darnold, no. But one of them two young cats, I think they're going to win 13 games. As for the Seahawks, I got them win 10. I completely agree with that. They can win multiple ways. They can run the ball to death. They can go play action fake with Geno and got all these receivers to throw the ball to. They can win with defense with Wagner and Jamal Adams in the secondary, Quandre Diggs and all these guys. They can win multiple facets. And they can win on special teams because they're so well coached. So I think they're probably the most balanced team in the division, honestly, because with the core questions of San Francisco, like who's their starter, we don't know how good their offense is going to be. On paper, it looks great, but we don't know how good it's going to be if it's not Purdy or Lance. If it's Darnold, we don't know. So I think they're the most balanced team in the division. I got the Rams at 7-10 as well. I think that they're not going to be good. Stafford's not going to stay healthy. He just don't stay healthy anymore. You can't rely on him staying healthy. And I don't believe in their secondary. I don't like what they've done in the secondary, trading Jalen Ramsey away. Their pass rush is, man, they lose Leonard Floyd, I believe. It's like Aaron Donald or bust. Losing Wagner is going to be kind of tough. Got Cooper Kupp. I mean, that's cool, but who's really good outside of Cooper Kupp? Van Jefferson, I guess. Tyler Higbee's okay. Like they're like a 7-win outfit. Their offensive line's not great. They're like a 7-win outfit. And I completely agree with you, the Cardinals. I think they're 6-11, maybe 7-10 if Kyler plays more than 10 games. But yeah, I think the Cardinals is going to be a lot better than people think, but they're just not quite there yet. I think they're going to be one of those teams that's like, they're up and coming. Watch out for them. Be wary, but they just have not arrived yet. Even maybe in 2024, depending on what you guys do to continue to build a roster, but you'll be the team. I mean, you guys will be the team who starts to dominate the division very, very soon.
Here's hoping, right?
Yeah, I think with the Niners, it's going to be you and the Niners division to lose in 2 years. I think that the Seahawks will still be around.
I would say this. I don't think anyone else in the division has a quarterback situation. Like, I know people say, well, you're not how sure you look about. I believe in Kyler, but if they move on from Kyler, that means they've got Caleb Williams, right? Like, no one else in the division, I think, projects to have as good a quarterback situation 2 years from now. Brock Purdy looked nice, and he may end up being kind of a solid guy for them. But, like, unless one of them drafts a really good quarterback next year, you've got aging veterans or guys that you're kind of not sure about, like in San Francisco, which one's going to be the guy 2 years from now. And, I know a lot can change from one offseason to the next, but like if the Cardinals build a good roster, they could have also the best quarterback in the division, whether it's Kyler or Caleb, to be honest.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I think you guys put yourself in positions to where if you guys do the right things, draft the right players, and really just make some shrewd moves, maybe a couple of nice free agent signings to team up with the draft picks you guys have, you guys are gonna contend. I think you guys will be right there in 2 years. I really believe that. Like this year, in one of them years, okay, they're not there yet, but they're almost there. But next year, okay, here come the Cardinals. Here come their back. They're back, and they're not going to be going 7-0 and finishing the season 10-7 because they lose 7 out of their last 10 games. Like that's my other thing with Kyler that I'm kind of questionable about. Like you guys start off like game busters every year with Cliff. You guys start 7.
Well, that's the coach. That was Kingsbury though.
6-0. If these guys just melt, I'm like, what the hell? Like what happened?
Well, that was the Cliff Kingsbury, the coach. His records were like that going back to Texas Tech in college.
Oh, okay.
So I think
I sound like that. I knew it was below 500. I didn't know how he got there. It makes more sense though.
I think it's their coach, and it's something about his coaching system, and maybe his coaching style just doesn't work deep into the season. That's a much longer conversation, but I think something about Cliff Kingsbury's what he does offensively it's not sustainable deep in the season. Teams adjust too easily, I think.
Facts. I don't disagree with that at all. I don't know why they thought that it was cool to. Yeah, I don't know why they thought it was cool to keep Cliff that long, man. I never understood that. I say I went to the playoffs a couple years ago. I get it.
Well, they got better every year, right? The record improved every year.
Yeah. I mean, like once like you start falling off every year, like I did the second year in a row. I'm like, all right, man. Look, these slow endings need to stop. I gotta make a change. I'm glad you have made a change. I think Jonathan Gannon's a good fit. I said I think Steichen will be a better fit, but I think Jonathan Gannon's a good fit. You guys choosing GM. Khan was not getting it done. I'm sorry, was not getting it done.
Oh, Cardinals fans agree with you.
And it's. I think we're both in like the same spectrum when it comes to our teams. We got rid of Dan Snyder. We're like, yay, new owner. You guys like new GM. He sucks. Get him out of here. Like we're excited in two different manners. We're excited because I think Commanders fans think we're actually ready to contend. If you're on that, but I think we're ready to kind of put a dent in this NFC conference and really make some noise. Maybe make the playoffs and kind of give someone a scare in round 1 or something like that. I mean, you guys are excited because your future is so bright. You got so many draft picks. You got so many young players you guys like. And you guys are just looking forward to the future. And really building a juggernaut over there in Arizona. So we're both happy for huge different reasons, but nonetheless, we're both two happy fan bases that are ready to just get this process really rolling. And I really think that starts with this year, whether it's you guys finishing 6-11, but things are bright, or things might be look a little dimmer on the record side of things. But past what we were in 2019, we were 3-13. We had a bunch of young players who were like him. We like this guy. This undrafted free agent look nice. This guy look nice. The future's actually bright for this team. And it might be like that. It might be 4-13 for the Cardinals, but I think I think you guys can go nothing but up because you got so much young talent that's infusing in this room. I like Gannon. I really like Kyler. I really do. But if y'all decide to go the Caleb Williams route, I'm not gonna lie, I like that too because you share his salary off the books. You probably are going to get a first round pick for him because I think he's a top 15 quarterback. And those don't grow on trees. I don't care if you say he's too small or he gets hurt too much. Matthew Stafford fetched 2 first round picks and more in a trade. I think you can get the same haul for Kyler Murray in a trade because it's hard to find top 15 quarterbacks. It's hard. It's hard. And the Jets just trade for Aaron Rodgers hang him up next year. Oh, what the Jets going to do? And they need a quarterback. They don't believe in Zach Wilson. So now you have a team that need a quarterback right there. Boom. If the Colts are only Anthony Richardson after this year, I mean, I wouldn't give up on a guy after 1 year, but you guys did it with Josh Rosen. So that switches the whole dynamic up, right? So it's like, okay, hey, Kyler's available. Let's go ahead and give him a call. Another team, for example, would be
if the Cardinals decide that they want to go in that direction, someone's going to want to trade for them. Yeah. You know, like there are teams out there that we talked about the narrative.
Kirk walks. Yeah, another team right there. I ain't interrupted. I'm sorry, my fault.
So what the narratives be damned. Someone, if Kyler were available, someone, whatever the narratives might be. If the Cardinals were to go in that direction, there'd be teams that would want Kyler for sure. Mm-hmm. I think they'll stick with him, but if they were going in that direction, someone's going to trade for him, right?
Yeah, and that would be kind of very very interesting that the way Kyler was acquired would be the way that he leaves the organization. Like that'd be kind of a complete full circle. But I do think you guys want to stick with Kyler. I do believe that as well.
Obviously, I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but.
It's just going to be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting season for your Cardinals. I'm very excited to see how you guys look week 1. We'll talk about that actually very briefly before we get out of here. What are 2 things you're looking from this team week 1 versus the Commanders? Like 2 position groups you might be looking like, all right, in order to win this game, this position group and this position group.
2 things I'm looking for. So if the Cardinals want a chance to win really any game early on, in my opinion, I think it is going to have to be the offensive line is going to have to play well so that they can run the ball effectively and give probably Colt McCoy, he's likely to be the starter, time to drive the bus, right, to execute the offense. So the offensive line, to me, is the most important thing for them to be successful if they're going to be successful. And then second, I would say, is probably going to be the pass rush, finding a pass rush. Certainly their cornerbacks, there's question marks. As much as I'm excited about Keitrell Clark, and Marco Wilson showed some things last year. There, a lot of people look at the defensive backfield and think it's the worst cornerback group in the NFL. I think it's better than people giving it credit for, but I understand it's an unproven group. But really, I think what they need is they need to get pressure on the quarterback so that the defensive backs don't have to kind of hold down coverage as long. So I think to me it's offensive line and pass rush. Those are the 2 things. If the Cardinals want to be competitive in their early games, they're going to have to lean on those 2 groups, in my opinion.
I completely agree, especially week 1 against the Commanders because Deron Payne, John Fernal, nothing to snuff at, and Montez Sweat, Mr. Almost Get There, can also get there. Even Chase Young, I think he's still a really good talent. I've been kind of soured on Chase lately, but that's another topic for another day. And I completely agree with the pass rush side of things because Sam Howell is unproven, which I completely agree with, but also these targets are not unproven. Jahan Dotson's been a problem. Terry McLaurin's a top 10 receiver. And Curry Samuel's nothing to scoff at. So you don't want these guys covering these guys for 3.5 seconds. It's just bad game plan. It could end very, very bad if you give this kid time to throw the ball. And I think that Sam Howell is a very accurate quarterback. And the West Coast offense is getting the ball out quick. And you have to probably get exotic. You might have to do twists and stunts and exotic blitzes, and you might have to send 7-8 dudes at them just because you don't want them to get the ball off. But also, it's also dangerous to get the ball off, and then all hell breaks loose. So it's going to be very interesting how you guys game plan week 1. I'm very excited for that game. And I think you guys will be much more competitive that game than a lot of Commanders fans would think. So it's going to be very fun. Can't wait. Can we do this week 1 preview with you as well? We talk about that game much more in depth detail. And, select the winner and all that. But we're still in preseason, so and it can happen. It can happen. Injuries happen. Anything can happen from now until then. But hope both our teams stay fully healthy and for the most part, and that we are fully ready for week 1. I'm excited for this season. I know you are, even though some Cardinals fans. I watched AZ Sports Fans videos like a couple weeks ago. And he seemed like a little down, like Cardinals suck. But hopefully you guys have a much better season than expected. I really wish you guys nothing but the best. Outside of week 1.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, outside of week 1.
The feeling is mutual. Yeah.
We both want our teams to win. No hard feelings here. You're not an NFC East team. I don't care. So it's all good over here. It was good talking to you, Joe, man. Hope the Wi-Fi gets better too tomorrow. And man, I'm looking forward to this week 1 preview. Anything else you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, me too. I just want to thank you for having me on, Tony. It's always good to hang out with you, man. You're a good dude, and best to you and your family. And I want to thank everyone who showed up to hang out with us. And apologize again for the Wi-Fi stuff. But check me out on Twitter at Jokomo13. You see it my name JOKOMO13. Check me out the Cardinal Rule on YouTube. And man, I'm excited for some football. And we'll definitely talk again.
We'll definitely talk again very, very soon, Joe. Week 1, I cannot wait. We got some football now, thank goodness. The sucks that the summer's almost over. It's the only bad thing about that. But got football. So it's all good in the hood. I'm excited. I know you're excited. I thank you guys for watching. Very appreciate you guys. Please subscribe to the Cardinal Rule, Cardinal Analysis on YouTube. Very great YouTube channel if you're a Cardinals fan. He does all 22s, does everything. Very, very in-depth about the roster. And just really explains about each role of each player and what he likes about the player, qualities, things of that nature. I ain't know about that cornerback kid though, but I want to look him up. I'm intrigued. But I'll look him up tonight and see why you like him so much. But I'll look him up, might look at his content or something. But yeah. Nonetheless, please subscribe to my guy Joe. We will have a week 1 preview on September 8th at 8 p.m. I know I usually do my game previews at 7 p.m. due to work constraints. I have a new job now. It's a little weird. Schedule's a little shaky. So 8 o'clock will be the game previews every Friday, unless it's a Thursday game, be a Wednesday at 9. So that's how we're going to do it this season. I'll see Joe week 1. Gonna be dope. Let's have a great season. Like, comment, subscribe both our channels. You guys have a great evening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Until next time, man. Peace, love, blessings, all y'all. Y'all be easy.